Shazam?
Peacemaker. What a joke.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive. I am the Flash.
Truth, justice,
the American way.
I'm vengeance.
Hello and welcome to Elseworlds, the DC fan podcast. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, is Chris. How are you today, Chris?
Doing pretty good. It's been a day where my ADHD's been kicking up trying to do schoolwork, but I'm getting it done. So, that's where we are.
Yes, we are now, as the day we're recording this, 2 weeks out from The Flash. And to celebrate, we'll be talking Flashpoint in one of the episodes this weekend. But as always, we start the weekend off with our Arrowverse update. My first time viewing the Arrowverse, and these are going to be spoilers up through Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is Season 5, Episode 9 of Supergirl. Season 1, Episode 9 of Batwoman. Season 6, Episode 9 of The Flash. Season 8, Episode 8 of Arrow. And Season 5, Episode 1 of Legends of Tomorrow. So that's what if spoilers for those. I actually haven't watched much past this except for like Black Lightning, I think. So this is one of the first times I'm like actually just fully caught up on what we're talking about. So there's no risk of spoilers other than this. So if you haven't watched Crisis and you want to, turn off this episode and then you can always join us again afterwards. But Crisis on Infinite Earths, this released 2019 to early 2020. I had just been starting to get back into comics again. I was I had an injury where I was missing time from work, so I had like a week off, and I believe it was then I started watching this. So it would have been like right after it aired, like end of January, early February of that 2020, before COVID shut down. I just purchased each of the episodes on Vudu for like a $1.99 or whatever. And then having never watched the Arrowverse before, my wife and I watched this mainly for the Tom Welling reappearance of his Clark Kent. And now I finally got to it again with all the context, and it makes a lot more sense now. But yeah, I still enjoyed it. I don't know. I think Elseworlds might still be my favorite crossover. I think it's Elseworlds or Invasion, I think, is my favorite crossover of the show. I don't know why, and maybe there's news on this, but like why the Legends never play a part in this episode, really, other than Ray and Sarah.
Yeah, that was interesting. Sarah
Just
said,
Ava
hey,
and Nate is in like one scene.
yeah. Sarah said, I promised the guys we'd never have to do a crossover. So that was kind of a little tongue in cheek in the episode. But, I kind of want to see more Legends every crossover. That's my big complaint. It's literally the consistent complaint. It's like they're the redheaded stepchild of the Arrowverse. They happen to be one of the most fun groups.
Well, I think that's why Invasion was so fun. Is Invasion, like that episode that is Legends of the Invasion crossover, is Legends. They go back in time to find the Dominators, and it feels like a Legends episode with a crossover of like Cisco and some of the other characters.
Mm-hmm.
This Legends episode doesn't actually feel like a Legends episode at all, right? I mean, so I know the jokes, right? Like there's the jokes in last season too, when they like skip the crossover for Elseworlds, and part of them is like, can we call, at one point they're like, can we call like Barry and like Oliver and stuff, and they were like, no, we probably should have done the crossover, because you know what I'm saying, like And then the crossover actually happens at the time of, I think, Legends of Meow Meow, where like they are totally not acting like themselves anyway, and they're like, we're not doing no crossover and all that kind of stuff. But it was just interesting that they make the jokes about it. And then in this one again, they literally like don't show up. Legend. I mean, Mick does, right? But he's a different Mick. The Wave Rider appears, but it's an alternate Earth Wave Rider. So I wonder why they went out of the way with that instead of just using the Wave Rider from their Earth. Maybe they felt like they already had too many characters, which can make sense, but I don't know. It was weird.
Could have been a way to get Snart in the crossover. He was the Gideon of the alternate Wave Rider, and I
I
like
liked
that.
that. I did, yeah.
His voice kind of makes sense in that capacity. It's like the hello and welcome to the Wave Rider kind of thing. It's just it works. There's a vibe to it. I like.
No, Vibe is on is Cisco.
Well, I know. Here he goes with his attempt of humor, ladies and gentlemen.
Successful humor. But yes,
Astonishing.
they had so many. I remember like one thing that made me interested in this too, without watching any of the Arrowverse shows before, was not just the Tom Welling stuff, but I mean, this thing was breaking news every, I don't know, day of the fall or winter or summer when they're like, Burt Ward is going to appear in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they're like, Kevin Conroy, because I'm a big Kevin Conroy fan too. So it's like Kevin Conroy is appearing in Crisis on Infinite. I was like, holy crap, they're getting a lot of people for this. Now, of course, some of them are just literally 30 seconds, right? Kevin Conroy is probably 3 minutes, but it's still nice to be able to pay homage to so many of those previous actors and iterations of the characters. But like literally, I just felt like even as somebody that wasn't watching the Arrowverse, I could not escape the news in that cycle in 2019 when they're like, this person's appearing. I was like, wow, they're getting a lot of people. And so yeah, I eventually was like, I got to sit down and actually watch this. And now my perspective has changed a bit again, because I understand like I was laughing right away with Ray when they're having that trivia with Janis Joplin, and I remember that episode now of him trying to steal the hair. It's the unicorn episode, right? And her calling on little robot man or whatever. And I thought, when I first watched it, I had no clue what was going on. So, just being able to pay that type of stuff off and having Flash 90 in it, John Wesley's ship, getting closure, them doing the whole like flashback to Tina McGee and him in the 90s series. I don't know. It's just like, I know some people didn't like this event, and I know some people maybe were underwhelmed by the event. I know some people think that they shouldn't have done it because they can do it bigger on film. There's no other medium, I think, better for Crisis on Infinite Earths than TV shows, than the Arrowverse, since they already had a lot of these things kind of, established, already having multiple Earths, already having Supergirl on a different Earth, Black Lightning on a different Earth, and then being able to pay homage to Smallville and 66 Batman and Batman Superman Returns, and being able to pay homage to all of these different features of the DC universe. I think in a movie, I don't think this pays off as well. I mean, this would have to be like a 5 movie event, but having 3.5 hours without commercials, I think feels really good, because and then also Flash season 6, the whole first half of that is building up to this, and Arrow season 8 is all building up to this. So it feels like a bigger event than just those 5 episodes.
Yeah, I agree. And it was a lot of fun when this whole thing was going down because I watched it live and I was like every day. It got to the point where I was starting to like try to not pay attention to it because I wanted a little bit of surprise. I wanted to get caught up in all the cameos. I really did like the way they did Kevin Conroy, where they had, just heard the voice first and then he steps out and you hear that voice, you're like, I know that voice. It's like, yeah, it's iconic Batman sound. And then the Bruce Wayne that they had him play, I don't know. I watched it with my mom. I don't know if my mom appreciated the way I did, but I was like, okay, this is very Kingdom Come with the exoskeleton suit. This is very much a bitter, broken down Batman. I liked the alternate take, and I thought it was really, really just well done to get Kevin Conroy into live action as Batman. Very, because he's been in every other medium, video games, and of course the great animated voice. So I enjoyed all the cameos, but I really think it worked as you were talking about on TV because by necessity you had to have Supergirl on a different Earth. By necessity you needed to have Black Lightning on the other Earth, and you had all these multiverses set up already, and it's kind of like a comic book. We always talk about the Flash feels like a comic book on TV. You have all of this stuff coming together. It felt like each episode was an issue, and that's what you want to see with a comic book crossover. I don't think in a movie. I think in a movie they would almost take away some of the comic bookiness, some of the craziness and the zaniness of it, and get that Earth. I watched the 1990s series. It was just one season for the Flash. To get that closure for that character, I didn't see that coming. That was fantastic, and I don't know why, but that Flash shoot might be the best Flash shoot we've seen.
It's pretty good. It's like straight out of the cartoon or comic book. It is really good Flash suit. Um, yeah, I think one thing that I guess really stuck out to me throughout this whole event too is, at the end, obviously, most of our characters are on one Earth. The CW verse, the Arrowverse, is actually all on one Earth at the end here. You still have your separate Earths for Titan and Doom Patrol and stuff at the end of the episode. It shows like them returning and Stargirl and all that. But Earth Prime having like all of our Arrowverse characters now is interesting. Like I said, I haven't really watched anything after this except for some Black Lightning. So I think after we're done recording and after I'm done making dinner and everything, I think I'm going to sit down with the Flash or finish up Arrow or something and just kind of see some more ramifications. Because at the end of this thing, I mean, you have Lex back and everyone adores him, and it's set up for some interesting stuff. And I know that there's no other big crossover, but do any of these characters ever interact again after this or no?
Well, in Flash season 9, they tried to pull as many as they could into the final season.
Yeah,
They
but I
tried
mean,
to,
like does Flash
but
and
no, there's no
Supergirl
big
ever
crossover.
meet again?
No, I don't think so. There's no
Yeah,
big crossover. I will tell you that the show that has the biggest fallout from Crisis, other than of course Arrow, which ends, is Supergirl. Supergirl with Lex
I would
Luthor
think
being
so.
a good
Yeah.
guy. That was Lex Luthor built basically a whole new world there, and you're gonna get to the point where she has to make a commercial for Lex Luthor, and you're like it's like, and she's just like, "What? No, I'm not doing this. This is crazy." So there's a lot of zany things that go on with Supergirl that actually made that show a lot more interesting because I believe at the time, and I could be wrong, they're dealing with Leviathan,
Yeah.
and that was like the least exciting, most lackluster villain story, I think, in the whole Arrowverse, maybe. So it really put life into Supergirl and made me like, okay, now I got to watch Supergirl to see the fallout from Crisis. So keep your eye out for that. But in terms of big crossovers, there's little hints here or there. There's little crossovers. Ray Palmer is on an episode of Flash season 8, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So you know, there's little things here or there, but there's no big crossover after this.
I guess that's what's so interesting is that they put them all on the one Earth and then they don't even interact that much afterwards. They interacted more, I guess, when they were on separate Earths. I mean, either Flash showing up in Supergirl or Supergirl showing up in Flash, and so it's a little disappointing. But I get that as well. Like, there's a whole episode of the Flash in season 6 where Flash and Iris are not in it at all. And I mean, obviously that was right before Crisis, so obviously they're filming those two actors are filming Crisis at the same time. So it made sense for them to go to like Tahiti or wherever they were going for a little short vacation. So I just think it's if they were going to have more intersecting episodes, you would have to give more episodes without certain characters because they'd have to be over filming another episode of a different TV show. So like I get why it's not common, but
They had a big crossover planned after this. It just didn't happen, and COVID ended up
yeah.
changing everything. Remember, it was supposed to be Superman and Lois and Batwoman were going to
Oh
be
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
big crossover, and that
Thank
never
God that did
happened.
not
And
happen.
and that might have been the death sentence to Superman and Lois back then if it had tied in, fully
Yeah.
committed. That that show survived because it set itself apart. It was a step up from the production quality. I think the production quality after Crisis on Infinite Earths really goes down for the Arrowverse. I think some of the writing gets, I just think it gets a little lazy. They had their big moment and they don't really know what to do. And anytime, this is my biggest pet peeve, anytime, even in the shows that don't really have much of a fallout for Crisis, anytime the writers can't explain something, Crisis.
Yeah, yeah. That's what originally was supposed to be for the boys being older in Superman and Lois. It was supposed
Hmm.
to be Crisis changed that. But now it's just a different Earth, which I'm happy about because um, you know, giving it ties to something that some people were kind of looking down on and stuff, I think could have hurt it a little bit more than it is. And we still have no clue on the status of Superman and Lois. I'm telling you, episode 11's next week. I think they're waiting. I think they're waiting until episode 13 airs. That's only 3 more
Uh,
weeks.
I think they're doing that too. And I will tell you that we need to have, after episode 12, we're going to do our
Yeah.
Superman and Lois recap. And we need to have some conversations because that show is incredible. This last episode was fantastic. I think it's very interesting how much you get introduced to Lois Lane and Superman in Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I wasn't completely sold on Elizabeth Tulloch during Crisis. And, you just got little bits and pieces. And immediately on Superman and Lois, it's like, yep, they cast the right one. But I wonder if she would have been the same Lois if, she was part of the Arrowverse and maybe they took a different approach to the show.
Yeah. Um, yeah, because it's like a totally different feeling show. That even when I did watch it, I didn't know how this would fit into the Arrowverse. I started watching Superman and Lois before I started watching the Arrowverse, but like I said, I've seen this, and I'm like, it totally felt like totally different vibe. Um, I guess though some shows in that universe does, right? Like Batwoman, I think has a totally different vibe than some of these other Arrowverse shows.
Well, you
Batwoman's,
could
I was gonna
you
say
could argue
Batwoman.
Legends has a different vibe than everybody.
I don't know. I think Legends feels very close to original Flash, like season one Flash. I think it has the same vibe as that. I think it has sort of the same vibe as maybe like I don't know. There were some moments in like early Arrow too where I felt like it was a little lighter, even though it was dealing with some dark stuff. I felt like the characters would kind of joke with each other, and it'd be Arrow's show has went totally off the rails at season 3 or 4, just totally off the rails there. But I really have liked season 8 of Arrow. I only have 2 episodes left of that, but I just kind of liked how it dealt with the whole crisis thing. And so Earth 2 is just gone. I don't know if that's a world that's been restored. Does Harry and Jesse Quick ever show up again, or they're just legit gone?
They're just gone. And
Wow.
one of my biggest annoyances, I was the second it happened, I was like, do not kill off Harry. Do not kill off Harry. He's my favorite Wells. I was very angry. I was like, no, you can't kill off Harry. And then Jesse Quick is also very cool. So Yeah, Earth 2 was very important to the mythos of the Flash too. It was a very big Earth 2 started in season 2 and it really never
Yeah.
stopped being an influence on that show. So, I mean, you saw the Flash characters feel a lot of pain when they saw Earth 2 uh, be eliminated. So,
Yeah.
there's a reason.
So, what are your thoughts on Nash Wells here?
You know what?
Indiana Wells.
It's exactly what he was basically, but I thought the end when he knows I know exactly what to do and he sends them to the vanishing point was
Mm-hmm.
very very interesting. That end of that episode was just that was one of the best moments of the Arrowverse. It was just so exciting. They were
Great tie-in to Legends season 1, by the way.
oh, it was fantastic
Yeah.
and a good call there. I I really like Nash Wells. You know, Pariah, you know, is a hard character to play because you basically just have one line. I'm here to witness the, you know, you're just basically the anti-monitor's cheerleader unwillingly. And he put a lot of range into that for that. I think Tom Cavanaugh is the most talented actor in the entire Arrowverse, maybe other than maybe a Grant Gustin. But I'm telling you, the acting chops of that man, I will watch Tom Cavanaugh play anybody in anything.
Yeah, Tom Cavanaugh has been absolutely great in everything. Any role in the Arrowverse, he has been really great in. All right, let's see. What's another big storyline here? So Arrow and I got to complain a little bit here. I don't know if this ever gets patched up after post crisis or anything. But Arrow, the main complaint for the last season I have is that they made JJ evil as a Deathstroke.
Hmm.
Like, what the hell was going on in their minds with that?
Well, I think there's a reason the flash forwards and the alternate reality they put there didn't click with the fans. I think Arrow's biggest problem as a show overall is they lost the pulse of the fan base. They lost the pulse of the people who were watching that show. And the only thread they knew how to go with, the only thread they knew how to string the whole way through was Olicity. Everything else, they really didn't have a core component. What are the core components of Arrow? Well, it's different every single season.
Mm-hmm.
So, I the reverence that they do not have for their characters is the downfall of it. Because you're telling me that Diggle's son ends up being one of the most menacing villains. I hate that.
And killing Renee, like his daughter. I mean, it's like, what was going on? Is that's what the show was about, right? Like
Hmm.
the spinoff was supposed to be about the future, like Mia.
Yeah. So in the future, Mia doesn't realize that she's an archer. She doesn't realize that she has both memories tied, and she's this socialite. And then she realizes that the memories start sneaking in. And, you know, they have a backdoor pilot for that show
Mm-hmm.
as the second to last episode of Arrow,
Yeah, that's my next
and
one now.
which is really frustrating because I liked it. I liked it, and then they never went with it. I was like, I was honestly saying, you know, if this was the entire last season of Arrow, I could go with it. There were some really interesting things there. I'm never going to get down with the JJ thing, but
No,
I hate that. I hate it. There, I loathe it, especially because it's just a slap in the face to Diggle and Lila. But I really appreciate what they did with the future of Dinah. You know, the police Black Canary superstar. I thought she was great in that. I thought that was a very interesting character with a lot more room to go with. And this, you know, there was a time travel element. It felt a little flashy. It was, you know, I liked it. I wanted more of it. That was my biggest complaint. That's my biggest complaint, other than the JJ thing, is that don't tease me with a bunch of stuff and then don't give it to me.
right, right. You know what I'm a sucker for? I'm a sucker for these episodes that are the Groundhog Day
Yes. They're my favorite
episodes.
episodes. Time
Yes,
loops are my favorite.
there's an episode in season 8 of episode 6, Reset, right?
Hmm.
Um, that is, uh, you know, Laurel and Laurel from Earth 2 and Oliver stuck in a time loop. That episode's great. The Cause and Excess one is really great in
Hmm.
Flash.
Here I go again
Legends,
with the Legends.
yeah,
Yep.
Legends. I love that episode too. Those are like, and an episode that really made me like Zari a lot, was that episode. And then you have, I was like, each one of these shows have their own version of like this episode, and each time I really dig it, really really dig it.
There
So
was a time loop episode in Flash season 9 as well.
okay, cool.
So
So I will be getting to that in a
mhm.
little bit here.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I could get there that fast, but part of me is savoring it. Because I'll say I know some people don't like season 6. So far, I've liked the first half that I've seen.
But
I
see,
think
once Crisis is done, it's
yeah,
like, yeah, season
the
6
the
starts
first
strong.
the villain's not great. Blood work is not great. I
He's one
kind
of
of
he's one of 3 main villains of the season, so
yeah. So I
they're
mean, at least
doing
he's
that.
done. At least he's done.
I liked Blood Work. I thought they did some cool things with it. The problem I have with season 6 is I found him more interesting than what's coming.
Oh, okay. I know people complain about Godspeed. He's one of them, right?
Well, Godspeed is one of those characters that they only flirt with in episodes here or there.
Oh, okay.
He finally has an arc, but it takes a while. You'll get there.
Okay. Yeah, anything else I gotta talk about before we
Did you like the Barry and Sarah connection in the end of Crisis? Because to be perfectly honest with you, it made sense that they bonded over Oliver, but it didn't make sense that they were friends at all because they never really interact with each other.
That's why I had the problem with she was even invited to his wedding and Ray wasn't. Ray has known Barry and has
Hmm.
actually visited Central City when Sarah hasn't. And Sarah got invited because the writers wanted her there to hook up with Alex and, be at the
Hmm.
wedding. While Ray, I felt like got really shafted with that. So yeah, I do think it's weird. Um, I think part of my struggles with Sarah is she feels like a different character in Legends than she is in Arrow. Arrow, they started off with her being like really ditzy sister that doesn't care she's cheating. That Oliver's cheating on her, on her sister with her, um, and then and it's great portrayal by Katie Lotz. Like she totally is a different character on the boat on the Gambit than she is after the fact. That's part of the growth, but I have a hard time reconciling when I watch Legends that Sarah is Sarah from Arrow. And anytime she shows up in Arrow, she acts totally different than she does in Legends. They write her a little bit more straight. And I don't mean like preference wise. I mean straight as in like just so much more lame when she's in Arrow than when she's in any other show, I feel like. So that's part of my problem with Sarah is that I feel like anytime she shows up in another show, I feel like she's not Sarah from Legends. Ray, I feel like, is very consistent in each of the shows he's in, and I think it's got to be the writing. When the Arrow writers wrote her, they're writing her as if she's season 2 or 3 Sarah, and not any of the adventures she's gone on through Legends or any of the changes she's gone through on Legends.
Okay, Sarah Lance is my favorite character in the Arrowverse, not named Barry Allen. And I understand that she's a different person on Arrow. I agree with you. I actually think she's a better character on Legends than she is in Arrow. I think she made an improvement. I think she's like Miss Cool. She's just totally awesome, totally just super cool. And she's kind of funny, she's quirky, But she's confident and she knows who she is and she's been through a lot, and she has this really cool quality where she gets hardened, but she's still got all of that Sarah personality in there. She doesn't go where Oliver goes and channels the darkness. She kind of channels the light, and I really enjoy that. I think that's fantastic. I also think, I mean, she's just the coolest character. I'm just
Well, I
like
think
totally
you,
in
I
love
think
with
you, I think you
with
nailed it
Sarah
there
Lance.
though. With like in Legend, she's confident, she's quirky, she's got a wry smile on her face. Anytime she shows up in Arrow, it's like, I mean, also at times like people she loved has died when she shows up in Arrow, but she's a little bit like less of that. Like they don't write her the same way of her being like her wry, confident, you know,
Right. I mean,
self.
we see her dad die when she comes back. You see
Yeah.
dealing with horrible circumstances on Arrow, but she is one of the things about Sarah Lance is that the Arrowverse is better when she's involved. I think the crossovers needed her. I think Arrow writing stinks. I think Legends of Tomorrow was a better show than Arrow, at least for the writing, consistently. I like the characters. They get the characters. If she was the same character she was on Arrow, Legends never would have worked. Never would have worked. And one of the things I like about Crisis on Infinite Earths is that scene where she has Oliver Queen from a different timeline and a different universe. And she tells him, "You're a good man on every earth. It's the longest story." And that scene is really touching, and it shows you how much range she has and how much range she can have in context of Arrow. So I understand your complaint, but I don't view her as an Arrow character. I view her solely as a Legends character because once she takes on her full form, that's who she is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wish the writers agreed with you.
Well,
Because
Arrow,
I think there was times that even in this crossover where she didn't come across like her legend self. I feel like there was a lot of times in this where she was a little bit more like her Arrow self.
I will say the writers of Arrow and me have basically never agreed. If there's
Not
a
even
show that
seasons 1 and 2.
seasons 1 and 2 are great, I still would have made some choices that were different. Season 1 and 2 are great. Season 5 was fantastic. The rest of Arrow, you can take or leave, to be honest with you. If you weren't so invested in this universe, does Arrow hold up like like a Flash does for you?
Does Arrow?
Yeah.
Seasons 1 and 2. I would say like I will watch those more than I'll watch any of the seasons 3 through 8 for Arrow. Um, it just had a more fun like I remember when I was watching season 2 or season 1. I think it was season 2 I was watching, and like my wife and I had just finished watching Smallville in 2021 as a rewatch for me, first time for her, and I was like, oh no, she'd really like Arrow. I was like, there's some fun stuff in this show. I think she'd like Felicity. I think she would like some of the um stuff going on in this show. But then season 3, once it starts getting to more of like where I would draw the line for me is once we get, I know people usually draw the line at 4 when the magic and stuff, but when you start getting into the Ra's al Ghul and stuff like that, that for me is when the show totally changes. Is season 3, and then season 4 goes full magic. Season 5 gets kind of back on track for a bit, and then kind of falls back off in 6. Like 6 and 7 feel like a totally different show than that first 2 seasons. In each, like you said, each season kind of has its own different vibe, and that's not what I want. I want to sit down and watch the 1 and 2 vibe. I don't want to
It
watch
vibes on the Flash.
yeah, I know. I want the 1 and 2 feel, and not the 3, 4, 5, 6. Because one thing that really throws me off with Arrow is even after all these times of working together, nobody still trusts anybody, and that pisses me
Mhm.
off. Because I feel like it's spinning its wheels at times.
Well, Oliver's a horrible leader, and he's the one who creates the next multiverse. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
He's the last person I would pick to, if you told me, hey, what Arrowverse character would you like to set up the entire multiverse? Maybe Barry? No, try again. Ray Palmer's got a good heart. Try again. Sarah? Try again. Okay. Cisco? Try again. Okay. Every Arrowverse character? Try again. Oliver? Yeah, sure. It
Yeah.
was a bit of a long bit, but like it's just he's such a dark, brooding asshole. I
Yeah.
love Oliver, but I mean,
Um and then I do want to just shout out too. I love the use of the Queen song Flash in the premiere of the Flash season 6.
yes, the black
Perfect
hole
timing.
episode.
Yes, it was perfect
Yes,
timing. It was really great. Really enjoyed that.
I was
I
kind of
know
waiting for them to do that, so I was like, yes.
this season's only like 19 episodes. I'm assuming because of COVID. Did they have to shut down?
Yeah, they shut down for COVID. We
So does
were.
it actually have a real finale or no?
Oh, you're gonna get so peeved. It
I
doesn't
mean,
have a finale.
okay.
Its
I can
finale.
excuse
So
that because of
it
COVID.
has
I mean, I can't get
it
that
has
upset.
a finale that acts like a finale that finishes the storyline in the beginning of the next season. And it's really annoying because you were done with the storyline when the season ends. You were so done. You were just like, oh, thank goodness the season's we're
Well,
starting there. And then season 7, I will give credit to season 7. After that storyline kind of gets the bow tied, it's a lot better. But I look,
I
I
mean,
like Flash. I
for
like
me,
Flash.
I'm binging these, so I don't notice some of the stuff that people are talking about. So for me, it's literally going to be once I finish season 6, I'm turning on season 7, so that'll feel like a finale for me. Like, that's no problem. But when it's like I know people were complaining about License to Elongate, the James Bond-esque Ralph episode. I really dug that.
No, that one was good. Anything with Ralph, I tend to enjoy.
Yeah, I
Ralph was one
really
of my
like
favorite
that.
characters. I literally have a theory that if Cisco and Ralph could have stayed the entirety of the show,
Hmm.
for the show never would have really taken that big of a dip. Because the problem is the side characters the Flash brings in are the problem. So
Mm.
Cecile becomes a series regular who has, I'm not going to spoil a lot, but
I
her
mean, she does
powers
have
make no
powers.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she gets different powers every season.
Oh, wow.
They
Okay.
yeah, and she's like the most powerful person in the Arrowverse when it's over. It's really weird. Makes no sense. But she also doesn't feel like the most powerful person in the Arrowverse. It's a whole thing. It doesn't make a
Hmm.
damn bit of sense. Allegra, super OP, out of nowhere.
Right.
Allegra, super OP, out of nowhere. Um, Chester, I really, really love the character. I just miss Cisco. I,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, if I had Chester and Cisco, I'd be okay with it. Caitlin, never allowed to be happy. Weirdest season 9. I just the side characters in the Flash take over the show, and Barry and
That's
Iris
what I
take
keep
like
seeing.
they keep taking like they would take like 2 or 3 episodes off at a time, and you'll just be like, "Am I not going to get any Speed Force in the Flash?" You'd have
Well,
entire
don't you
episodes
know
of
they are all the Flash, Chris?
uh,
They are Team Flash. That's why.
"We are the Flash." God, and look, I the Flash has a habit later on of not giving me what I want. What I want from the Flash is Barry figuring something out and being determined to do it, even though the team says, "Oh no, I don't know." Speed Force, cool stuff. Anything Flash related, cool stuff. Give me some more Nora. Give me some more Cisco. Give me some more Ralph. And then get rid of Ralph. And look, I get it. Tweets, inappropriate tweets. Like they hired James Gunn back. It worked out pretty well. It just come on, just get over it.
Yeah,
And
I mean, and some of that stuff is like I get it when they want to just move on from somebody, but it's also like people can change,
His
right?
contract doesn't cost that much. He's not
I
a
feel
huge
like,
actor.
and look, at that point, nobody was watching The Flash anyway. If you look at ratings, so it's like, would
True.
that actively drive anyone away if you if you kept them? Probably not.
Well, not only that, but here's the thing that drives me crazy about the getting rid of Elongated Man. You keep the Sue Dibney thing going the whole way. So Sue Dibney becomes
Yeah,
one of the most important characters on the show, and no Ralph.
that's weird.
Sue, yeah. So that's she never becomes Sue Dibney, but you know what I mean. I'm just so used to calling her Sue Dibney. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
even know
yeah.
what her other name is.
Dearbon.
Dearbon, that's what it is. Yeah, Sue Dearbon becomes really integral and has a great relationship with Iris.
Hmm.
And like friendship, like she's really good friends with Iris. And that'll be 4 episodes for you. 4 episodes of just Sue and Iris talking about newspapers. It's great.
That's gonna fly by for me. That's an
Hey,
afternoon.
Iris is going to win 2 Pulitzers. Iris is going to win 2 Pulitzers, man.
There you go.
I don't know, Kara
Um,
won a Pulitzer without going to work, and
yeah,
apparently,
the
um,
Kara winning the Pulitzer is funny.
it
That
drives me
whole
crazy.
Lena subplot is bonkers when she's going to work with. She was willing to take back Eve Teschmacher, um, though she does brainwash her into becoming her hope thing. But she was willing to take her back, but she's not going to give Kara any benefit of the doubt for lying to her about her identity. I'm hoping that stuff doesn't last too much longer, but I don't know.
Yeah, the Lena thing is going to drive you crazy.
Yeah.
It, it becomes worse than what Arrow did with Oliver and Felicity lying to each
Yeah.
other.
So where's Felicity in the final season here? Why is she not in this final season at all? Until like the finale. Like, was it something with Emily Bett Rickards, or was it just like with us needing, like, with them following Oliver through this multiverse thing, they just didn't have time for her?
She didn't want to come back.
She didn't?
No, she didn't want to come back.
Oh.
So a lot of the Flash actors thought they were done. I mean, Arrow actors thought they were done because their
Right.
contracts were done.
Oh,
And
okay.
she didn't. She's like, I don't want to be part of this. So, yep,
Well, I don't blame her.
she's part of the. She's part of the finale.
I mean, all the vitriol that she gets online, the character, I wouldn't want to come back either.
I I feel bad about that because I complain about Felicity in Arrow, but some of the complaints about Felicity on Arrow are awful. It's one thing to not jive with the character. It's another thing to be a misogynistic jerk on Twitter, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what a lot of that is. And it really stinks because there's a difference between okay, this character's annoying and get off my favorite show, you're ruining it.
I still never had any problems with Felicity really this whole time. So, and again, I think that's part of the charm of being able to just steamroll through the seasons, instead of waiting week to week, where you're, maybe week to week you're dealing with, it is annoyances. An episode goes by for me in 43 minutes, and I'm on to the next one. So, um,
So I
yeah.
listened to a podcast called Quiver.
Mm-hmm.
And every week, Mike and Amanda on that show would, uh, they were the Thunderquack Network or something. Anyway, they would do a recap every week. And after the episode, I would listen to the podcast. And that podcast would, I was like, I would notice things even more because it became a running thread with them. And I was like,
Mm.
and once I noticed it, it's kind of like I had a graphics project when I was, in school, like in high school, and I put a shape that looked like a toilet seat uh, behind a picture, but I didn't realize it looked like a toilet seat. Once someone told me that it looked like a toilet seat, it's the only thing I could see. That's
Right, right.
exactly what happened with Arrow. Once someone told me there was a problem with it, and I noticed it, I'm like, I'm trying to ignore it. I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, I may notice that stuff more when my wife wants to watch all these, and we'll go at a much slower pace than what I'm going. So I think I might notice more of that stuff.
Well,
On
you
that
got the
viewpoint.
speed for it. You have to bring her into Flash time.
Yes, I'm going to be slowing it down. All right, I think we'll wrap up the Arrowverse Crisis on Infinite Earths. I do want to say I really did like seeing like Tom Welling and seeing Burt Ward and just Kevin Conroy, all of these great characters and actors who've played a part in the John Wesley ship. There's your Flash ring. So many good things. Oh, well, yeah, we forgot to even talk about Ezra Miller shows up.
Oh God, we forgot about. I'm like, we're moving on. I got the Flash ring up for Flashpoint. I'm like, let's go. Hey, look, Ezra Miller is, that was, and they changed the widescreen too, which was
Yeah.
interesting. It's like, oh, if Ezra's there, it's got to be movie quality. And
Well, there were times where this looked very cinematic, by the way.
oh yeah, and you could see some of the things they started to do with Superman and Lois. They started
Yes. Yep.
in this, but I liked where Ezra Miller's version didn't hear the Flash. That's a good name. That was interesting. I was like, do they not call him the Flash?
They don't. Yeah, they don't.
That was interesting. I will say, while we're talking about Ezra Miller, we could have an Ezra Miller Flash movie, but Ralph Dibny had to go.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. There you go.
I'm trying not to say it because I want people to go see The Flash, but it is what it is.
Yep. So go ahead and follow us. Sorry. Go ahead and follow us at Elseworlds DC Fan on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're going to wrap up this episode and get right over to our Flashpoint coverage.